Hello, my name is Jacek Korzeniak. I would like to share with you the first insight from the research I conduct. The research is about predictors of success in the startup management. The research is ongoing, but I already have few interesting insights which I would like to share with you. So at the beginning of my research, I faced few challenges. First of the challenges was the startup definition. We already know by heart what is the startup, but if we have to develop a strict definition, it's quite hard. So that's why at the beginning of my research, I should resolve this question. Another one was how we define the startup success. It also is not so obvious. And of course, the main reason of my research is characteristic of the startup founder. So, but why I take this subject? This subject is strictly in line with my professional background. I have more than 15 years of the experience in project management, including the business support. I support the creation over 500 startups during the program I manage. I conduct over 5,000 of the startup evaluation for the incubation, acceleration, and the mentoring program, which I take in part. And my study focus on the personal traits on the startup founders and the influence which they have on the startup success. But in my research, I don't want to only identify the traits which are important for the startup success, but I want to also measure them. So at the end, I would like to have the personal profile of the startup founder and accurate information, what kind of level of the particular traits we need to be more, let's say, sure to have the startup success. Of course, I will check additional conditions which could have influence on the startup success, like the socio-demographic factors, level of the business knowledge, and perception of the organization climate in the company. The research which I already know and the opinion of the experts show that the team is very crucial for the startup success. So that's why I took this subject and I want to deepen this matter. So, for example, we have this study which was examined over 200 startups, and the study showed that the team is one of the most important factor for the startup success. It's even more important than the business idea, business model on the funding. So I think it's very crucial to deal with this subject. And what I have done at the beginning, based on the literature review, I developed the theoretical competence profile of the startup founders, and this theoretical profile has 16 personal traits. Later on, I conduct the interview with the experts. I ask 6 experts for the startup development background, and this interview have to show me, could help me to decide what kind of definition of the startup I should take to my study, and how we could define the success of the startup, and of course verify the preliminary profile of the startup. And after these interviews, I find out the experts assess that from the 16 traits, 11 is crucial for the startup. So I took this 11 for the next stage of my research. So the next stage of my research was to develop the questionnaire, which I will go to the startups, and with this questionnaire, I will check what kind of the level of the personal trait have this particular founder of the startups. But to develop this questionnaire, I have to first of all develop the initial statement for each traits. So if I have 11 traits, I develop the set of 8 to 10 statements for each traits. I also ask two additional experts for do the same. So I have 3 sets of these statements. I check if we don't repeat the statements, if the statements are aligned with the definition of the each traits, and in the end I have 168 statements in 11 dimensions. In the next stage, I ask judges experts, it was 22 experts, to assess those statements, if those statements are aligned with the definition which each traits. I calculate the CRV using Lash method, and in the end I have 61 statements across 11 dimensions. And this was in the final profile which was included in the questionnaire, and the questionnaire is nowadays conducted with the founders of the startups. I don't have for now the final results, but the research is ongoing. So going back to the definition of the startups, the experts was quite in line. All the experts tell that the most accurate definition of the startup is the definition which was developed by the Steve Blank, and this definition states that the startup is a temporary organization that seeks a profitable, scalable, and repeatable business model. All the experts say that this definition is, let's say, the most accurate for the startups. But anyway, we still have few challenges about this definition. So we could ask, is every young company is a startup? When does the startups end and let's say normal company begin? And when the design creation phase is finished and the startups start to operate like normal company on the market. And also experts highlight some another characteristic on the startups. So one of the important characteristic for the startups is innovation, because all the startups should do some innovation things. And of course, scalability of the business model is not determined by the time horizon or legal form, and is possible to put clear border between the let's say ideation phase and the operation phase of the startups. And to find this border, I use the Eric Rice method, and the Eric Rice said that the startup which is ready to operate like, let's say, normal company should have 3 fits: problem solution fit, product market fit, and business model fit. So it's mean if we have solution, if we have product, if we have service which is responding for the real customer's problem, we have first fit. If on the market is significant number of these customers which have the same problem, we have product market fit. And if those clients want to pay us for our product, we have business model fit. If we have these 3 fits, I think we could say that the startup is ready for the market operation and end of the ideation phase. But for my research, I should transform this information for the criteria I could use to later on select startups for my research and categorize them. So I transform these criteria and for me, for my research, a startup in the operation phase will be registered as a capital company. Is quite important for the investor because only startup who is registered as a capital company later on could use the investor money. Has a product available on the market in the form of the finishing offering, and also has paying customers with the target monetization model. If we have all these things, we could say that the startup finish the ideation phase and start the operation phase. And what about the startup success criteria? To be quite, let's say, accurate, I didn't look in the criteria for the, let's say, unicorns. I look for the criteria which tell us that the startup is doing okay, let's say, on the market. It's good enough. It don't have to be perfect. It don't have to be ideal. It's just good enough. The startup operating and doing okay on the market. So if the startups achieve one of those, I think we can say that the possibility to survive on the market is quite high. So first of the criteria, it could be self-financing. So when the startup covering its cost from the generated revenue, we could say that this startup is quite successful. Or if the startup obtain enough capital that support long-term operation and growth, we also say that the startup is quite successful. Or profitability. If achieving profitability for the significant time, we also say that the startup is successful. Or the startup have significant increase in the validation, which is measured on the real market transactions. So also we could say that this startup is quite successful. But what about the characteristic of the startup funders, which is, let's say, the most important part of my research? So the preliminary, let's say, research show that the most important traits in the startup funder is persistence. Expert was quite agree about this. Problem-solving ability, opportunity recognition, action orientation, innovativeness, passion, willpower, hope for success, scrupulous, risk-taking, prosperity, and autonomy. The autonomy wasn't in my preliminary theoretical profile of the startup founder, but all the experts say that this is quite important, this is quite crucial, so that's why I also decide to include this in the final profile. And all the experts assess these traits are very important. That's why in the end of my questionnaire, these traits also was included. Every trait has also a definition, and this definition is based on the literature review. Let's say, I want to read all of this, and I want to go to the use cases of my research, because I believe that my research at the end will have practical use case, and this let's say conclusion I could use in my work, and also people who doing similar things. So first of all, it could help startup team building to make sure that the team which are developing the startup has all the strengths to grow. It could evaluate the project feasibility from the human resources perspective. It was quite important for the investor, because the investor, especially investor who are invest on the seed stage of the startup, they don't have, let's say, hard results from the startup. They don't have business result. They don't have any other things. They just evaluate the startup based on their experience. They look on the business potential, and they look on the team competences, but in the point of view their experience, and they could be wrong quite a lot. So that's why they're looking for a tool who help them later on to be more accurate in this idea. This also could support the selection for startup for incubation, acceleration, and investment programs. Is actually what I do on the daily. So have this tool could help operation of this program to select the people who will later on have more chances on the market to be successful. Of course, could help support personal development and planning, because if we even measure how much level particular traits the startup founder have, it doesn't end, because they could later on develop it. So they could go for the training, they could use coaching, and they could even self-action could do it, that in the future they will develop in this area. And of course, strengthen the self-awareness of the strengths and weakness of the startup team. Thank you very much.